Hey guys, welcome back to the Unfiltered Gamer Kickstarter card game review. Today's game up on the tabletop is called Total Recall by Overworld Games. Total Recall is a three to 4 to 8 players, and what you're trying to do is everybody's going to be given a couple roll cards and one of these sheets here. You're going to be given 3 roll cards, and they're either going to be rebels or feds. And depending on the majority of cards you're going to have, like this is the rebel supporter and this is the fed supporter, depending on the majority of cards of these that you have is what faction you're going to be. So if you have 2 reds, you're going to be from the feds. If you have 2 rebels, you're going to be from the rebels. And you might have 1 other fed, right? Now there is an exception to that, is if you have the leader card, like in the movies, you have 2 leaders. You have Cohagen, who is the leader of the bad guys, the federal guy. And then you have Quatu, that is the leader of the rebels. If you have either of the leader cards, you are going to be that specific color, no matter what is represented on your board. Throughout the game, you're going to be trying to point guns at people to kill them, and they're going to try and point guns at other people, as well as obtaining these things called turbinium. Now, when you die, you don't necessarily die, but instead you turn into a scientist, and you use the back of this, which is going to determine that you need to get turbinium throughout the game. And if you and any other people who have died, who become scientists as well, obtain all of the turbinium required in the game, you can win that way. Otherwise, you need to kill the leader of the opposite faction. So rebels win killing the fed leader, and the feds win if they kill the rebel leader. And there's always going to be one of each leaders in the game. The last thing to note is there are plot cards as well, and you're going to be doing certain things with them, but that is the basis idea of the game. Alright, well let me go ahead and show you what's in it and how to play it. Okay, so here we have a setup for 4 players for Total Recall. Now the first thing you're going to do is make sure that you have the right amount of cards for each of the characters. On the cards, you'll see the note at the top right hand corner of a 5+, 6+, 7, and 8+. You're going to set those aside when playing a 4-player game, but if you played a 5-player game, you would add all the 5+ cards. Alright, continuing now, we're going to have the rebel leader and fed leader to the side, and we're going to add cards to equal out the number of players. So we're just going to add 1 rebel and 1 fed. That means that when we shuffle these cards up, just like this, we're not going to know who's going to get the leaders, but we're going to ensure that everybody gets a card and that 2 of them are leaders and the same player will not get the same leader, or not get both leaders. Because you never want to have 1 player with the same amount of leaders, otherwise that player instantly wins. This ensures that we have a fed leader and a rebel leader somewhere among these 4 players. After that, we take the rest of these cards here just like this and we shuffle them all up. Now, in general, as we're shuffling and dealing these cards out, players are going to get to select where they would like to place their cards, and they also can look at their cards, so that way they can determine what faction they are. So once these are all set up just like this, now you've got 3 of every faction. This character, well, he's going to look at his. Now, no one else gets to see it. He is obviously a fed, because he has the majority of fed cards here. So he's gone ahead and looked at that like that, and he's placed him down. His objective is to defeat the rebel leader, Quatu. Then you're going to go ahead and look at this. He's going to look at this other player's going to look at theirs. Okay, they're the fed leader, and they have a rebel and a fed, which means he's guaranteed to be a red person. So he is definitely a red along with this person. They just don't know that they're both on the same team. Over here, we've got 2 blues and a red, so he's guaranteed to be a blue person. And over here, we've got all 3 blue, and he's also the leader, so he's guaranteed to be a blue. Now that we've got all these set up, we're going to give every single player a plot card, and these things are either bought throughout the game or given to you at the beginning, and you're just going to place them somewhere along here, which is the plot line is. Just place them, and the rest of these cards go into the middle of the section. Then every single player is going to get 1 turbinium and place it on their board here, so we all have 1 turbinium, and leave the rest in the middle. These are wounded tokens, which means that a leader, if he is shot once, if a player holding a leader is shot, they have to flip over that leader token, and if the leader is shot, they can flip over that leader token and reveal the fact that he's been shot. So if, for instance, the red leader, which I think is this guy, if he gets shot, he has to reveal that guy, and he's wounded now. And now all that the blue people have to do is shoot him 1 more time to kill him, and vice versa with the blue leader, which is over here. Once you shoot a player, they flip over sideways unless they have a leader, in which case they get wounded and die the second time. Finally, you're going to give every single player a gun, and for this prototype, they gave us these little stands and a little gun card. And you can go ahead and just set them up on these stands just like this. And ensuring that every single player has a gun. The rest of the gun cards are going to be then removed from play because they're no longer going to be used. And now all we have is each player's designated area along with their face down cards, their guns, their plots, and these 3 different piles in the middle. And that is what you need for the game. Now let me tell you how the turns work. Okay, so now you know the basics idea of the game as well as how it is set up. Now you get 4 actions on your turn. You're going to select one person randomly or via how they decide you're going to set it, how you're going to have them start. But nevertheless, you get 4 actions on your turn that you can do, and you can choose any one of them that you'd like. The first action is going to be to investigate, and that is simply to take a face-down character card from your opponent and select it, and then look at it and put it back down exactly as they had it laid. That doesn't cost anything or require anything. You can just do that on your turn, and then the play would pass to your next person's turn. Another action you could do would be to take aim at somebody, and if you do that, you will simply have to reveal any of your face-down cards. So if you wanted to, you could flip over this specific card, which would be the middle, and it would be a support rebel card. Now this kind of gives them an idea of what is face down underneath your, gives them an idea of what you could possibly be as far as your faction's concerned. So making sure when you take aim, you do so very strategically. Also, if you have all your cards already flipped face up, you can still take aim at somebody even though you don't meet the requirement. It's just if you have a card face down, you must flip it up in order to do so. When you aim at somebody and you've now targeted them with your little gun, so you have the gun and you point at them, you then take all the turbinium they have and put it into your little turbinium marker. The next thing you can do, maybe the next person's turn, maybe let's say he's already aimed at somebody, he can choose to shoot. And that's simple. You just kill the player in which you were aiming at. So it's going to take 2 turns in order to do so. You have to aim at them the first turn, take the turbinium, and then the second turn, you can then shoot, killing the player. Now, if the player had no leader, they instantly flip over their card and they become a Fed, and now they become a scientist, a recall scientist, and their objective is to gain all the turbinium on the map. Otherwise, they are going to be one of the leaders, and if that happens, they're going to take a wounded marker and flip over their leader, representing the fact that they are the leader of a specific side. So you might end up actually shooting your own faction's leader. So be careful, and that's why investigating is the most important action. The next thing you want to do, or could do on your turn, is simply plot. And when you do that, you're also going to flip over a character of your choice. And then when you do that, you're going to also spend a turbinium by giving it to any other player on the any other player that is around you. And they're going to simply collect that. And you're going to take a plot card from the middle of the table in the deck and place it down next to your plot cards. You can have as many as you want, and playing plot cards are free. Sometimes you can play them on your turn. Other times you can play them on somebody else's turn, depending on how the card works. And you're going to go back and forth throughout, trying to figure out who's on your side, who's against you, which person is the faction leader of the opposing team, and kill them. However, if you die, your objective is to obtain the turbinium, because you become a third faction throughout the game, and that's another way to win as well. Well, let me show you a couple ways to play, a couple turns of the game, and then we'll move on from there. Alright, so since we have a 4-player game, we'll just take one of each of the actions except for shoot. We'll try and show that in a second. But for the first action, we'll choose this player to go first, and he is going to investigate. He's going to look at one of the cards from any of his opponents and flip it over. Okay, rebel supporter. So that means he's likely to be a rebel, and this guy obviously is the Fed. So he has a good idea that this guy is not on his team. We don't know for a fact, though, because he might have the Fed leader, or he might simply have 2 red cards here. But he's learned a little bit of information, and his turn is now over, and it goes to this guy. And of this guy, if he wants, he can choose to stand up his gun and point for whatever reason. Maybe he says that he's a blue character and he's a red character, and so he's going to point at him. When you go ahead and do that, you select your gun, and you point it over to the specific player you want to point it at. You are going to have to reveal one of your cards face up. Now, you're not going to want to reveal your leader if at all possible, so maybe he would want to reveal one of his blue supporters. He's going to do that, put it face up on his field, and then aim here at him, and when he does that, he gets his turbinium. After that, his turn is over. He can't shoot until his next turn. Following this player here, he can choose to do an action, but he's going to use his plot card first, and the plot card says he can either discard a face-up plot card on the field, which there aren't any, or investigate a hidden character, or choose a player to draw a plot card. Well, let's say he thinks that this guy's on his team, so he's going to allow him to draw an extra plot card, which is very nice of him. He also still gets to take an action, so he's going to choose to investigate. He'll look and say, okay, Fed supporter, well, I know that I am blue, so I'm likely to believe he's a bad guy. Moving on to this player over here, we've already explained how to aim, how to investigate, and how to shoot, for the most part. We'll go ahead and do now the plot. So he's going to flip over one of his characters to represent the fact that he wants to take a plot card, give a turbinium to any player. Maybe he'll give it over to him because he helped him out by giving him a card. And now he's going to get another plot card. He can choose to play this if he wants, but he'll go ahead and set these down just like that. This player will then go ahead and take a peek over here. Now he knows for a fact this guy is definitely a Fed unless this card was the Fed leader. So he knows for a fact that this guy is on his team because he's also a Fed, right? So he's not going to do anything to hurt him. He might choose on his next turn to start pointing over here, but he's okay. He's done. He looked. Finally, this guy might choose to shoot. Now, it'd be a bad idea for him to do so, but if he did choose to shoot, he would simply say, I'm going to shoot you. This guy would then die. He'd flip over his character cards and say, okay, I was a rebel supporter. These are all gone. And this gets flipped over. He gets to keep his turbinium. And now his objective is he can do 3 different things on his turn. He can swipe, implant, or lobotomize. Which swipe is take a turbinium from any player. Lobotomize is choose 2 character cards held by different players and exchange them, so simply moving them. And finally, the implant is to choose a gun that is aimed at somebody and aim it at somebody else. So if this gun were aimed over here, he could choose to make it aim over here, and that would be the end of his turn. Now, obviously, he's trying to get all the turbinium in play, and if he can manage to do that, he would win the game instead. Otherwise, the game continues just as normal. Somebody's going to die, and you're going to try and kill that leader. So if this leader gets shot, for instance, this character were to shoot him at some point in the game, he would get wounded, placing that there. And because both of these guys are red, he would end up trying to shoot him as well, and he would die. When that happens, this team would win, which would be the red, or vice versa, and like I said, finally, the turbinium. So that is how you play the game, and that is all the nuances, other than just a couple little interesting plot cards. But alright, let me tell you what I think about it. Alright, so Total Recall by Stronghold Games. Well, first of all, this game is insane. Now, there are games like this, obviously. There's One Night Werewolf, there's the One Night Revolution, which is very similar in style as to how you find out if you're a bad guy or not with the middle of the board, but as well as Resistance, right? But the difference is, in this game, what we've noticed is that every game ends in some crazy shenanigans. I did not expect players to actually get both leaders as much as they did using plot cards. I also don't expect the scientists to be as crazy as they were. Sometimes they were not actually going to try and gain all the turbinium. Other times they're actually going to move things around to try and kill everybody else to make them become scientists in order to gain the secondary victory condition after they had died. As well as, it is easy to determine how you get who's on your team, right? But it's also hard to tell them that they're on your team and then to believe you, unless they check you, but maybe they're checking somebody else. So there's a lot of crazy shenanigans going on. And I never actually had, well, I had maybe 1 or 2 games. Most of the time, we never had games that went according to plan, which was really, really cool with this game and really frustrating for people as well, because they're like, no! But that's kind of part of these Resistance style trader-based games, and it works really, really well. Now, what I've been told is this system is very similar to a couple of other games like Good Cop and Bad Cop, but I haven't played those games, so I couldn't make a valid assessment on that. All I can say is for this game, it was definitely fun and very interesting, and a very unique style of trader game involving trying to figure out, who your opponents were based on looking at all the different cards they had. Now, the game is obviously, this is the prototype, so it's obviously going to be better when you see it, and from what I've seen on the other games that are similar to this, they have some really nice components, so I expect to see the same from this game. The IP works very well, and the theme comes out in this game. You do feel like you're a recall scientist when you've died, because you go, oh, actually, it was in a dream this whole time, or you have the plot against Quatu and Cohagen, and they're fighting against each other, and there's Quaid in the game, and all the other characters. Every single character is named and has their own unique part to the story, so it does work out very well, and I like the addition to this theme for the game. Otherwise, it's an excellent game. I would strongly suggest you check out Total Recall. Alright guys, thanks for watching another Unfiltered Gamer Kickstarter card game review. If you like this game, you'd like to check out more, go ahead and check out the rest of our videos here on YouTube. Like, subscribe, and comment. It all helps, as well as checking out Stronghold Games and the Kickstarter for Total Recall. If you like trader-based games, you're probably going to like this one, as well as our website, unfilteredgamer.com. Tons of blog posts, giveaways, Kickstarter lists, and more. Simply go through our list of Kickstarter games. The newest ones are there for you. It makes it a lot easier than searching on the Kickstarter engine. As well as checking out our friendly websites, everythingboardgames.com, The Giveaway Geek, and Devatos Gaming. Alright guys, thanks for watching this one, and we look forward to seeing you next time.